guys, welcome back to the third episode of The Lab. With me again is Brandon Weirick and Alex Trotter. I know after we finished up the second episode, we were going to kind of set ourselves up for today. I'm kind of curious to see how today even goes. But we're going to talk about sports-specific training versus just general overall strength and conditioning. Kind of curious to see what these two have to say on that topic. So I'll turn it over to them and just kind of let them rant a little bit, per se. Take it away, fellas.
Your approach can be a little bit more scientific.
To the whole sport specific, I don't deal with that. I don't deal with it. You can look at a baseball player, for instance, and they swing a bat. I just look at it as we're training the transverse plane, anti-rotation, things like that. I guess the sport specific I would do is, because I'm a speed coach, so I break down running mechanics and things like that. So the only sport specific stuff I do is track. Like I'll kind of get more into block starts and things like that. But
Okay.
I mean, how is it sport specific as I throw a baseball in there when I'm doing a speed drill, or if a guy carries a football and he's doing a cut? I mean, there's so many from a speed aspect, because that's where I get a lot of my questions. My son's a linebacker and he needs to work on his hips. Well, you look at football, you look at softball, you look at basketball, lacrosse, you look at all these sports, and the movement is very similar. Mm-hmm. You know, whether you're playing defense on a basketball court, you're reading a play as a linebacker, you know, you might have a back pedal, and then you're going to have a hip rotation into a sprint. I mean, that kind of movement, or you're going to have a counter step and going to break to the right and read whatever the stimulus is. That is across the board for majority of field and court sports. So that's why I do my group training the way it is. I have 10 different athletes in one group, and the movement goes across 10 different sports.
Yep. Yeah, male or female. Yeah.
So would you say that you mainly focus on like the movement patterns as opposed to...
Yep. Okay. Movement pattern is, you sit there and break down film from, like I said, a linebacker and someone playing defense in a basketball court. The movement is very similar.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How about you, Trotter?
I mean, I'm with Brandon on that. It's sport specific. Like, name a sport, okay, golf, I guess, or bowling, that you don't like sprint or have a short burst of like power needed to generate. You know, that's what we hear a lot as far as the parents go. You know, they all want to get faster and they want to be able to jump higher. But then when you ask them, like, okay, like, how much time have they spent like in a weight room? Like, oh, well, they don't want to like stunt their growth. Like, your child is 16 years old and can't squat a wet paper towel. So it's like, okay, well, there's part of your issue. He's just weak. I mean, if you have no power output, then it's really hard to generate power.
Yeah.
So that's my take on it. I think sports-specific training is stupid.
I definitely think that there's a time and a place for it. However, I mean, I think you'll see it more with the younger kids where, like, you do have that weakness, and then you got that one kid who's playing baseball year-round, and they're very undertrained. They're not strong enough to handle the rigors and the volume that these coaches and basically parents are trying to have them play at. And so, at the end of the day, that weakness is going to show. So, I mean, you could do as much sports-specific training as you could with them, you know, throwing mechanics, batting mechanics, wherever you want to go to. But at the end of the day, if they're weak, that's going to show. And they're going to see the breakdown.
And we have when it comes to more, like, it's more when you get to that end season is when you kind of start making some changes in the weight room. Mm-hmm. You got a volleyball player, a baseball player, a quarterback that there's a lot of overhead athletes. Mm-hmm. Just making a simple change, maybe from a dumbbell shoulder press to a landmine shoulder press, keeping everything kind of out in front, not putting so much pressure on an already overused shoulder joint, and then just little things like that.
We use stability work.
Yeah, I mean, you can sit there and look at a baseball player and kind of see his dominant side is dropped compared to his non-dominant side. So we definitely take what their sport is and take it into consideration for their programming. Mm-hmm. But to sit there and say that makes it sport specific, I mean, because a volleyball player and a baseball player are going to kind of have the same type of what we talked about last week.
they're going to have the same type of problems. And
imbalances,
Yeah.
things like that. So, I mean, it's not specifically for that one sport.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're not going to make like that hard divide.
So it's like even going back to one, because most of this I think is for speed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we were doing shuffle sprint transitions to where they were shuffling, and then whenever they need to go into the break is when I tossed the ball to kind of give them a stimulus to read. And people kind of correlated that with softball, baseball, things like that. Well, my soccer kids like, oh, well, I'm not. It's usually the catch, because like a lot of soccer players have no hand-eye coordination with their hands, so like they go to catch the ball and they just kind of whiff on it, and it's like, well, I'm not a baseball player. It's okay, well, you're still shuffling, playing defense to somebody, and the ball gets kicked that way. I don't care about if you catch the ball or not. I'm looking at your transition from your shuffle to your sprint. Doesn't matter if you're playing on a baseball field, football field, soccer field, basketball court. It all transitions the same.
More athleticism.
Yes.
Being stronger, being faster, translates into your game.
Yeah.
Now, what do you guys think? I know there's been, like, from what I've seen over the last 2 or 3 months, been a little bit more on social media, looking into the Instagram, the YouTube. I've been seeing a lot more of almost position coaching, not necessarily strength and conditioning, but like there's a few different quarterback coaches now on Instagram that are starting. I've just been watching them periodically, posting. They'll bring these kids in, and all they work on is literally just throwing mechanics ad nauseum, just rep after rep after rep, working on those mechanics. Do you think that that would be something you would almost separate from strength and conditioning, almost as more like a fine-tuning, like technical aspect? Or do you think that has its room in the weight room too?
I think it's separate things. I have pretty much all of our athletes go to some type of sport-specific style coach. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. Like if one of my athletes asks me when I do a jump shot or whatever, it's like or a certain read or whatever, or in a football game, or a throw mechanic. It's like that's not my realm. Yeah. I'm not where I'm educated. I can help you get stronger, you're faster, your power output, help that translation into your sport that you're using. But I'm all for it. Like I have 10 different sport-specific coaches that focus on that in my phone that I'm usually regularly texting back and forth.
Yep. Okay.
So it's like, all right, cool. I'm gonna get you more explosive. You want to dunk? I can help you with that. But you want to help increase your jump shot percentages? That's not what I'm here for. I got 3 contacts I can give you 2 right now. And then vice versa. I got a guy that trains basketball players down in Dayton. He's like, okay, this guy doesn't have very good movement side to side, kind of weak in his hips. Then he'll send him to me, and I'll get him stronger and more explosive in that aspect. But I think they're 2 totally different, separate entities.
I agree. And I just feel like they're trying to find a niche inside of a niche, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, because like I think a lot of these coaches they overlook the fact that you know if you're breaking down the mechanics of a 12-year-old quarterback, okay, so now what happens when he goes through the multiple puberty changes that he's going to have? Like you're just going to have to re-break it down, you know, and change him as he goes, which is fine. He's going to have a jump start ahead of time, but I just feel like it's just, I don't know. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me as far as that goes. And then, I mean, on the drive, like over here, I was thinking about things, and I think one of the biggest ones is that we noticed is like these kids are playing the same sport 9 times out of 10 all year round. You know, and parents are like, and I'm cool. Like I'm not a parent, so I'm not like, you know, judging parents, but you know, I understand that they're like wanting to continue to like push their kid in that said sport that they enjoy and stuff like that. But if you're not taking in consideration, like, you know, because all these parents for baseball, for example, they play however many games a year, 182. Is that right? Okay, so then, but are you monitoring the rest of the time that these like professional athletes and like what they're doing? Like, are you monitoring their food? Are you monitoring their sleep? Are you monitoring their recovery time? Because if you're not factoring that into your own child, then what's the point of playing them more than a professional does? That's my thing. Like, I think the greatest professionals of all time, I think it was like, I mean, whatever, LeBron, he spends like $1 million or $2 million on just recovery, like per year, you know, and that's him to play 81 professional games. Mm-hmm. But like, I have a basketball player that played 117 last year, and he's in middle school.
Jeez.
So, like, where's the
balance?
Yeah, I mean, what are you doing? I don't know.
Lord. I think that is kind of like a lost art where like everyone's trying to get, a one-up on everybody, but no one learns the opposite side of the recovery, which, I mean, you can get that on your side. You can actually like learn to perfect that.
Well, so you got all these kids that are finishing up their fall and summer league AAU, and then basketball season starting right now, and knees are hurting, hips are hurting, ankles are hurting. It's like, well, you just played,
feet. Yeah.
60-some AAU games between summer and fall, and your actual season hasn't even started yet. And you're, as a strength and conditioning coach, we can only hold you together for so long.
Yeah.
We can only do so many. Because as a strength and conditioning coach, like what we do is we stress the body so it adapts and becomes stronger. So if it's already hurting, we can't keep adding stress to a body, then you're not letting it recover.
Just beating a horse.
It's
not a good combo. So.
Yeah, they're just going to end up seeing a lot more of you. So
it's hard because you nowadays you almost get recruited based off what you do out of season and what you do during your actual season.
Yeah.
So we were talking to a couple of our soccer girls. It's like maybe think about maybe just either not playing,
take this one off.
Yeah, or trying to go do track, do something different, kind of like a little cross-training style, keep your side track, kind of have different goals and things like that. And it's like, well, we're going to fall behind on the recruitment. And it's like,
and I think that's part of like us learning as well.
Yeah.
Like and adjusting with it, but it does make it hard because there's so many other factors and adjustments that like me and you consider. But yeah,
I think it's definitely hard, especially to get like even parents on board. I know I've had a few patients over the last 2 or 3 weeks that they think that because now they're not in their sport, like for example, soccer player rolled ankle out, not allowed to play in regionals, and he has just dropped his food intake down because he thinks he's not as active, he's not doing as much. So now it's like, well, I'm not eating as much. He came and he was fatigued, like I couldn't do anything with him. He was absolutely exhausted. I'm like, what have you been eating? And he literally listed off 3 things, and it was 3 p.m. And I'm like, I would be the angriest human alive. But then you also have to have that talk of like, you're healing, your body needs that. So it's like there's a disconnect there. So like going back to what you said before, even if you're still recovering, food, water, sleep, are you doing all those basic things? Because even when you're done with me and you go back to training, you're going to need that again. I think kind of going back to like the sports specific and like the general strength conditioning, I think one of the things that I've seen the most of is more like the mental aspect of getting back into your sport after an injury. And one of the things that I've always kind of used some of the sport specific, like either exercises or drills for them, is that I'll use that not so much to just like prepare them for their sport, but just to get them mentally confident and kind of restoring that confidence through play. Is one of the biggest things I've seen is they might have the best range of motion and the best strength possible in that limb, but at the end of the day, if they don't trust it after that injury, and then they go back to trying playing, and they don't trust it at all, they're not going to be playing to their as efficiently as they could. And so that's why sometimes, and I don't like doing it all the time, but like sometimes I will start mixing in some sports-specific exercises or drills just to kind of put, get their feet wet, get them moving in that right direction. And you can kind of see that smile, you see that confidence come back. The next they hit it a lot crisper, maybe a little faster, maybe even they don't feel so timid with the weight loading, things like that. But then after that, I get away from that. And then after that, we get them back to you guys. And you guys get to have a lot more fun with them. We've had a few people who, we kind of worked them back and forth with that. And it worked well. I mean, I feel we've had a lot of success with that. The one thing I say with the sport specific is that, I don't have a basketball court. I don't have a turf. We got that little turf thing out there, but at the end of the day, I can't 100%. You're not going to simulate gameplay. There's absolutely no way you can 100% simulate gameplay. So to say that you're going to do sport specific, are you going to put them in the same mental state? Are you going to put how are you going to put them
same adrenaline rush?
Exactly. How are you going to go about putting them into that state and physical environment that they're going to be able to perform like that on field? You can't replicate it. There's no way. No one's been able to. And if you can, please contact me because I'd love to hear your words on it. But I definitely think it has its time and its place. Have you got? I guess if you were to use any kind of sports-specific activities, what would you guys say would be even just the little things you guys would use?
I think it just is too sit there and say it's sport specific. I think it's too broad in the term. to be honest with you. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, I can sit there and throw med ball twists into a wall. Okay, is is it for a baseball player or is it a tennis ball or a tennis racket?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I
or
think
golf,
it's golf.
depending on the angle you throw it at.
Yeah.
I mean, I can sit there and say it is.
Yeah.
And I think that's what most of it is. It's money grabber.
Yeah.
Why do one thing here and one thing over there when I can just say I can do it both?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's like I'm not going to have a kid push a sled and dribble a basketball and say, hey, this is going to help you become a better basketball player.
Yeah.
Because I'm sitting there, I can sit there and scroll through Instagram and all these reels or TikTok or whatever it may be and come up with, I see a quarterback drill and in my head it's like, okay, that makes sense. And then I go to a quarterback throwing coach and he said, that's the dumbest shit I've ever seen. I mean, that's not my realm. I've spent 5 years trying to build a platform, or not platform, but like a reputation of myself that I'm not going to piss away to try to make an extra $15-$20 saying I can make this baseball specific program. I'm not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not worth it for me.
It was funny. I was looking at Instagram earlier this morning, and there's a specific gentleman I won't name, but he actually markets his stuff as sports specific. But when you go into all the videos, the only thing I ever see him doing is reverse lunges, hip thrusts. He's got him doing some different, like, you know, the IYTs, the stuff with the bands, and then he's got him working on, oh, Lord help me. And then he'll have him do a few different tosses into a net, and he shows, the first one, it doesn't even look like the kid's trying. The second time, it looks like the kid's going absolutely all out. And so I'm like, okay, I get it, it's a marketing tool. He's trying to show what he can do, but, like, those seem like all components of a natural strength and conditioning.
No, it's like I could
program. I wouldn't necessarily label that as sports specific.
I could be a baseball program, a volleyball program. I mean, it's across the.
We just changed the wording of what the program's meant for at the top. You know, like it's just
Just say plug and chug.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I think that's what again, like going back to one of our older episodes, is like what separates us. Is that like we're not afraid to tell the parent that, well, being sports specific at this age at the level that you're at makes no sense. You'll get more of it if you just do it this way. I think I don't know. I know like I can't speak on him, but AJ is a prime example in my eyes. I mean, he really doesn't do very many sports specific movements. He does his speed stuff when he's gearing up for the season and stuff, but all I ever see him do is just bust his ass in the weight room and plow food. Like he's never had a food or a meal in his entire life. He just eats. And it's just like, but, you know, like in today's world too, like, you know, it's a popular thing for like guys to be a skinnier model and fit into these tight ass clothes. And girls, you have to be like next to nothing in order to, you know, be popular and be like attractive or whatever. So it's like they're having this fear of like eating, even if it's for like nutritional value to add to your game, and it just sucks. Like it's hard to watch.
Yeah, so we have one girl in here that she was kind of petite, and then she's put on like 10 pounds in like 4 or 5 months, and she's like kind of
I'm fat now.
In
Not
a way,
those words, but
it's like it's hard to like not say their name, but it's like you got definition in your back, you have abs.
Mm-hmm.
Don't give a shit what the scale says. Like you're moving better than you've ever moved. You're stronger than you've ever felt. Or ever been. And
probably getting more attention from boys than you ever have. Like,
and how all of a sudden you look over there and she's kind of got a little bicep flex in the mirror. Like she's the only one, because we rearranged our weight room to where the dumbbells are across the gym from our mirror, and she'll literally carry 2 sets of dumbbells all the way across the gym so she can do her shoulder press or bicep curls in the mirror. And it's like that's confidence you.
God,
without even stepping on a court, you've already gained so much more confidence.
Yeah, and that's one of my like favorite things, like as a coach, is watching that. Is catching the kids just do like little subtle shit in the mirror, where they're just like, "Oh, I'm feeling myself."
Yeah.
But then you transfer that to the court, their confidence is through the roof. Like, I mean, it doesn't matter what shot they're putting up; they think it's going in. You know what I'm saying? It's just like it's just incredible to watch.
At the end of the day, just be a bully. Like in a sense, I mean, you're stronger, you're faster, you're more explosive. take that from what we do in here and put that into your sport, and it's about as sport specific as you can get. Well, there's other things. Let's get your opinion on some stuff here, big guy.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's go into.
Ask away.
You hear all this stuff like how baseball players shouldn't bench press, or they shouldn't overhead press with the barbell, or they shouldn't all this kind of stuff. Let's hear that from a physical therapist standpoint.
So
I've had squatting stunts your growth.
Oh gosh, we need to get that out of our heads right now. If I hear if I hear one more time that weightlifting stunts the growth of a child, I'm gonna lose it.
Well, go ahead, Doc.
For the love of God, I'm going to. No, so I honestly think, like we've already been talking about before, the stronger you are, the more stable you are, the better you move your body, the better you're going to be prepared for the rigors of your sport. I think to take away movements, you're just basically taking away their chance to be more resilient in those movement patterns. You don't just throw in one direction, right? You have multiple. So why wouldn't you want to train the overhead? Why wouldn't you want to train in front of you? I mean, you're going to have the rotations to add in there as well, but in terms of a baseball player, I'm not going to limit them loading-wise in one direction only. And I'm also not going to take away movements because I think it's going to harm them. If anything, you're going to look at what are the needs of the sport, right? You're going to look at how they move first, and then I'm going to load them appropriately. If they've never touched a barbell in their life, yeah, we'll start off a little bit lighter, but then after that, I'm going to gradually increase that. It could be bench press. It could be with dumbbells. I don't have to be married to a barbell. I could bring in some dumbbells, though. If I wanted to, I could be even meaner. I could bring in some bilateral or even unilateral work, depending on if there's any imbalances. One of the things I kind of like, being a strength coach, but also being a PT, is I like to nitpick a little bit more. But I mean, for the way my PT brain works compared to how it would with like a strength coach, I might go more in depth with some of that unilateral work. Not that you guys don't. But then after that, I love to see the progressions after to their bilateral. So like taking, let's say I see like on that lockout, I see that right elbow way ahead compared to the left. I'll do a little bit more on the left arm, and then after that we go back, test the bench press again. They got that symmetry. Perfect. Now I'll load that. Then after that, we can have even more fun, and then we can kind of see how does that translate into like maybe their throws. So yeah, having to take away bench press or an overhead, really it's just exposure. I like to make them resilient. I don't like to take away. Basically, as soon as I tell them if you're bench pressing, you're going to harm yourself, they got that in their mind now. If I ever bench press in my life, this is a terrible thing for me, and it's not going to be worth my time, let alone it's not going to help me with baseball. That's completely backwards. Yeah. I will have a baseball player bench. I will have them go overhead. Those are completely fine to me. In terms of the youth getting into weightlifting, I think not enough kids do it. I honestly don't. I think that there was a misconception back in the day that they were going to close their growth plates. They weren't going to grow anymore, and you had guys that had the capacity to be 6'2", 6'3", and they finished out at 5'8". Well, no, look at mom and dad. Mom and dad will be a good eye of what you're going to be, or even look at grandma and grandpa. I mean, sometimes they're a good eye for what that kid's going to be. I don't think that loading them is a bad thing. I think like any kid, you're going to be smart about it and load them appropriately. I'm not going to sit there and throw 45s on the back just to ego trip this kid because he thinks he's strong. Right? I'm not going to do that. So yeah, weightlifting for children, have at it. Just be smart. You're going to be a seasoned coach. You're going to do the things that you would with any athlete. Assess them, find out where they're at training age-wise, load them as they can. Be smart about it. Some of the other things I think in terms of like strength with children is that there's definitely a lack of learning how to just move your body weight around. I think people sometimes, I don't know, you guys notice, but like calisthenics sometimes can be a wonderful thing. Getting to learn how to do compound movements, the pull-up, the dip. If you can, even the push-up, if you can learn to do all of those appropriately and then you start getting into the weights, you can throw your body weight around like a freak of nature. You go into weights, oh my lord. You'll see some monsters. Like I have a few kids who, Lord help me, running back never touched weights ever.
Herschel Walker.
Thank you. God, why was that escaping my brain?
Yeah, 1,000 push-ups or something like that a day, 1,000 sit-ups and pull-ups.
Exactly. So never touched weights. So if you think about it, weight training isn't necessarily like the only way of getting stronger. So if you have a kid that maybe is a little hesitant on touching the weights, you could destroy somebody. And I mean that in a good way, destroying them with body weights. I have a few parents who are like, well, I don't want them to get into weights too. I'm like, if that's your concern, fine. I can't force you to do anything with your children. But, maybe look into some different programs. I know I have a mom down in Dayton who their kid basically just goes to this boot camp every, I think it was Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. They go there in the afternoons, and they basically go around one of the parks. It's about a mile loop. It's got all the different machines. You can do all the body weight stuff. It's a fantastic way to get your kids started because if they don't like it, they're never going to want to do it again. So, I mean, you got to find what they like.
Yep. You can even flip-flop that, actually. I mean, you got to... A lot of people say if you can't do 10 perfect push-ups, I'm not going to push you underneath the bar.
Yeah.
Or you get a 10-year-old that might be a little heavy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, push-ups are hard. Let's be real. I mean, there's not too many people that can do 10 perfect push-ups.
Yeah.
But you can learn the motor mechanics underneath the bar, by the way, only weighs 40 pounds instead of trying to push your 130-pound body at that age up off the floor.
Yeah.
So it can definitely be reversed. I don't think the whole you should be able to do perfect body weight movement before getting underneath the bar is always the correct answer because you can learn those movement patterns at a lighter load and things like that too. So
yeah, I think that's a good point because I know like I've been incorporating kids on like the upper body days, especially they'll do 50 goblet squats to they're training their upper back without training their upper back by having to hold on to that weight while doing their legs, warming up, getting that pattern down. Because then when you put a bar under their back, I don't want it to feel so foreign to them that it's like, oh, I don't know how to bend my knees anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Go
and then
lunch.
same thing with push-ups. Like we'll use that bench block, set it to like a 3 board if that child is incapable of going down, which is fine, and then just progress it. Take them to a 2 board, take them to the little foam pad that you would put on a bar, and then before you know it, they're repping out push-ups, and all of a sudden the kids that used to call them fat, oh, well, now you're just getting bullied by this kid. And with kids especially, like once they see that little bit of change and like their confidence starts to growing, like they're in. It doesn't matter. You can tell them to go run through a wall and make them stronger. They try it. Obviously you don't want to do that.
I did it once. Don't do it.
Yeah.
And I think that correlates better. You get all these kids you get a kid to learn how to move his body well, have great mechanics. That is going to translate way better down the road than it is having your 8-year-old in an all-star $2,000 game or league, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
To say, okay, they're going to be baseball players. They're going to start at T-ball at 6 years old and play every opportunity they have the chance to and not develop their body. And now they got all these imbalances and things like that are maybe too far gone at age 10.
I was going to say, that's the nice thing about having multi-sports is you learn different movement patterns. That specialization sometimes is just not great. In terms of, I guess, is there anything else you guys wanted to hit on in terms of like sports-specific training?
The only time I get into this pisses me off.
Yeah.
I knew I could get one
Here we
more out of
go.
it.
This is where sports specific is actually important, and it comes down to knowing the sport, and it's the bioenergetics. Why the fuck are you having your basketball player or volleyball player doing a mile run test?
Oh,
like it's
it's so stupid.
Or a volleyball player doing your 300 shuttle. Why are we testing aerobic capacity for an anaerobic sport? Oh, because I want them to be in shape. I don't want them to get tired.
I think that's just pure, coach laziness.
Oh, 100%.
I have 30 minutes just to blow with these children. And, well, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing because I sucked at basketball too. So just go ahead and run.
We got a college softball player, catcher to be it.
Yeah.
And I'm spending more time trying to get her to pass her fucking mile test so she can play
anything else
than to make her more explosive
Yep.
to pop up out of her catcher stance and gun someone down at second base.
Yep.
Sweet Lord.
And it's
awful.
hard not to just tell the kids, like,
what are you doing?
just walk out at some point. Like,
oh, here we go. Here's a great example. One of the college baseball players that I have, he sends me this program, and pardon my language, all he says is, "What the fuck is this?" They had 3 sets of 10 on hang cleans, 3 sets of 10 on squat, but in between the sets of squat, they have to go run for 2 minutes. So you just got to go 2 laps around a track if you're hauling ass, come back and do your set, and then go again. That is so stupid. You're playing baseball. You stand in a field for 9 innings.
That doesn't make any sense.
With a 6-second sprint at most during a game. Like, that's the most live action you're going to see. It blows my mind. it absolutely blows my mind. Yeah.
You can manipulate metabolic so many different ways besides running without pounding the body. And then it's like, okay, I'm 2 weeks into basketball season and I got shin splints, or I'm 2 weeks into track because I'm a 100-meter dash runner and I've been running a mile while trying to build a base to run a 100 or a 400. Or you're a 400 runner. You don't even need to run a 800 to be good at a 400.
Oh, Lord.
And then you got these cross country runners that are running 6 miles to get for their 3.2 miles.
Yeah.
Then they wonder why my times aren't dropping. It's like, okay, you're running 6 miles and your pace is set at this slow 6 mile pace, and all of a sudden you
all
go
your
to
body
a race.
knows.
Then once you get out of that lactate threshold and your body starts fatiguing and you're cramping and you're a mile in trying to figure out why you can't keep up with these people, it's because you don't have no speed.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you want to run a 4-minute mile, you got to be able to run a minute 400. And not too many people that can do that. Simple math right there, but either way,
It's hard for some people. It's hard. God, I don't know.
That's one thing that does piss me off whenever it comes down to sport specific stuff, though.
Yeah.
Because you're just beating the shit out of these kids for no reason, and you're thinking you're telling them that they're going to get better, and then you got these kids that think they're getting better. So like on their day off, they're going to go run a mile or a 2 mile.
Because they think that's what they need. That's
and
what
I wish Haley was here for this. And they got pitchers running pole to poles to try to get the lactate out of their body from the day before, which lactate's been out the body for after 4 hours. You got done doing it. So when your coach says you're going to wake up the next morning to get the lactic acid out of your body,
just drink some damn water. Just drink a whole bunch of water.
and that's what I'm saying. There needs to be a minimum educational thing for coaches.
A minimal IQ.
Just not be the dumbass. But
Tell me how you really feel.
That's up there.
And it's caught me in trouble a couple times. Cause I'm not gonna lie to these kids, man.
I just got our podcast canceled, and we haven't even dropped an episode.
You can't sit there and say it's getting better for them when you're trying to get more explosive. Like you just ran a mile and you just like totally fighting twitch fibers, and it's you wonder why your legs are tired when you try to go dunk. Well, let's think this through here for a sec, bud.
Yeah. Or just flip it. Why aren't you having your cross country runners or your distance runners running a bunch of sprints then? If it works the other way around, why not? Yeah.
Not bad.
Way to go, Lou.
I'm not sorry. I love the rants, man. I want to hear it.
Brandon's shirtless. He had to take his shirt off. He's sweating so hard.
And then you can even sit there like with the cross country runners running sprints. It's like you already had your cross country runner run 3, 4, 5, 6 miles, and then the whole weightlifting and running is starting to actually become a good thing. So now you're pushing your muscle endurance through running, and then all of a sudden, okay, we need to work on more muscle endurance. We're going to do 3 sets of 20 in the weight room. Mm-hmm. Your body hits the ground at 3 times your body weight when you're running at a decent 5K race. When we run anywhere from an 18 to a 24-minute 5K, your body's going to strike the ground at 3 times its body weight. You have to have some strong muscle and skeletal system to take that load
over and over.
And
resist the breakdown. You
want to increase your power output or your force production when you're running. 3 sets of 20 on a squat's not going to do that. Mm-hmm. You got to put weight on the bar. Mm-hmm. You don't want to work muscle endurance in the weight room and muscle endurance running. Mm-hmm. It's okay to test a 1, 2, 3, 4 rep max on a cross country runner. Mm-hmm. Just because they're built like skin and bones, because they can run a while. I mean, we've got some strong cross country runners on here, and that's why the dude's running at state right now. He's kind of bought into that. Yeah. He doesn't go run his 10, 15 miles on a weekend. He's working a little bit more speed, working on getting a little bit stronger in the weight room.
And he has, though, too.
Yeah, he's a sophomore running at state. So, and D2. And then we got the same thing with our girl that just left for college. Yep. Mm-hmm. She was just, okay, I got to get my runs in. Hey, let's just take a break from your run and let's get stronger in the weight room. Yep. She's a machine. Like you can see that even on the track. Like her 800 kick and her mile kick was just night and day. And that's what you hit.
She waited until the last couple meets of the season too. She was like, you know what?
I just dropped 10
I'll
seconds.
listen to you guys. And then all of a sudden, and it's just like, God, you just want to strangle some of these kids.
She had to drop a 15, 20 second PR to qualify.
And she did.
And she did.
Yeah. It's incredible. Yep.
it's got a lot to do with the confidence too. Take that confidence. I mean, okay, I hit a
Yeah, and we're not taking all the credit on that. Like she had to go out and run that race. Like she earned that. So kudos to her on that. But God, it is so frustrating. Yeah. I mean, and then like I kind of think about it as well as far as like the the weight on the bar and everything like that. So why can't you just break it down from a different aspect? If we can have an athlete doing 3 sets of 10 with 100 pounds, right? So you got 3,000 pounds of total volume right there. Okay, but I can have them do a 5x5 with 225, and now their volume is, whatever that math is, triple or quadruple of what you just did. I guarantee this 5x5 athlete's shit on your 3x10. Yeah. I guarantee it. So, I don't know.
Well, you can still manipulate it too. You gotta, like we have kids that come out of season or they're in season and they got shin splints and they can't run. Okay,
cool. You can squat and we got a belt squat.
Let's put you on a belt squat, right? We got 60 seconds. As many reps you can get.
Yep.
Sweet. You're gonna work the same.
Yeah. We'll take care of your shins. Yeah. You can stand in this foam. That's gonna be a lot of fun.
It's gonna get you where you need to be. I mean, you can't quite go backwards. Your shin splints aren't gonna last forever. You're hopefully gonna get back before the season's over.
Yep.
And then if you don't do any aerobic capacity, that's just more than a bike, whatever, you still gotta work the muscle endurances and things like that. You can manipulate that different ways. You can even do that for an actual tough running workout.
Yeah.
If you switch it to the weight room, take some unnecessary load off these kids on their feet and their shins and their ankles and things like that.
To mention the impact.
That's one of the kids that we have. She's a basketball and track player, and for her size, she was kind of behind as far as like strength wise goes. But her all I did was raise her work capacity. So she is dubbed the name like 5 minutes of hell, and all you do is you do your banded box squat at the same percentage that you normally would, and then as soon as you get done, you go and you do 10 kettlebell swings. Well, there's one day where I was like, hey, I just want to try it like this, no break, just keep going. I mean, she's up to she averages 7 to 8 rounds of that in 5 minutes.
Sweet Lord.
Yeah, and I did that for 2 waves, so 6 weeks worth. She came back and she took her squat from like 145 to 230. Granted, she's new and she's got a lot of those newbie gains in there and stuff, but like there's no reason in 6 weeks she just put however much 90 pounds on her squat, and it's carrying over. And that's like the ultimate goal too. Just being an absolute menace on a basketball court. Can't shoot, so you might as well get good at defense,
Well, it's the same thing like that. We got all these parents that come in and ask, I need a vertical jump training program. Okay, if you just cover some basic...
There's a squat rack.
You cover some basic strength stuff and you throw in some power movements. Hey, guess what makes up vertical jump?
Yeah.
Power output.
I think I know who you're speaking on. And I watched her last night, and like I hadn't like personally seen her in a couple weeks or whatever. Totally different woman.
Oh, her strength, her hips got stronger. That's
crazy. It's crazy. And like you can just watch her confidence. Like she'll actually like talk back or like kind of give you a little swag to it. It's cool to see.
I think you should always have that aspect of. Too many people market. I want to drop your 40 time.
Yeah.
In this,
by
I'm
half
going to increase your vertical in this 2 inches in a 4 week. I think your program should already guarantee that. Like that should just be a set in your program to work on those basic needs.
Yeah, 110%.
I mean, I get it's a marketing tool where everybody needs to make money, but it's.
I'm
never
not
marketed hey, increase your. I've had results like, hey, did this guy followed just a plan that we've run with a lot of our kids that want to have certain goals, and this was the results. Not from 5:30 to 6:30 is a vertical jump program. From 6:30 to 7:30 is a speed. No, it's all tied into one thing.
Yep. If you can raise your absolute strength, then you'll raise every level. That's all. That's it. But yeah.
Saying your guys' results speak for themselves. Just because after, the summertime, watching the kids in the fall just go out and dominate.
We got 10, 15 kids. Not all the conferences have released it, but we've already got 10, 15 kids that are first team.
Yeah.
All conference,
yeah.
and that's only out of 2 conferences that have released it so far. on 2 sports, cross country and football.
Mm-hmm. And that goes out like as far as the kids go too, because day in and day out they had to come in and buy into our system and then transfer that over to the games. You can be the greatest weight room lifter of all time, but if you can't remember a fucking play or learn how to read a guard that's pulling, you're gonna suck. Like, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's just, I don't know. That credit needs to go to them as well.
100%, yeah.
Yeah.
And then off season, everybody wants to put on weight.
Yeah, 40 pounds. What'd you eat today? A granola bar.
It's
gonna be tough.
It's actually, if the kid's willing to
hope
eat,
you don't shit for a couple months.
If the kid's willing to eat, putting on 20 pounds on a body frame is pretty easy.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
It's the how do you put on 20 pounds of muscle and still drop
keep it. Yeah.
Still drop a 60 time for a baseball player.
So keep it solid, keep it fast.
Still, increase your vertical and still make that functional weight and say, okay, because we have a kid that comes in, kind of goes, still does his team stuff. We always, okay, listen, your team's number one.
Yep.
This is just kind of the extra stuff. You always got to be with your team, things like that. So he's kind of going back and forth. I mean, he's kind of a scrawnier kid. I mean, he come in at like 150, 155, and now he's like 173 is what he weighed in the other day. So he's put on a good 15, 18 pounds.
Wow.
And now all of a sudden he's the kid that people watch in the weight room. Before he was one of them kids that he was real sport specific. I mean, he lives in Troy and travels 2 hours or hour and a half to Columbus to train baseball 2-3 times a week. So a big sports specific kid that finally just kind of bought into the weight room.
Yeah.
And now he's kind of that dog in the weight room at his high school, and kids are kind of watching him lift, and he's just repping out an incredible amount of weight, and then he's kind of becoming that underclassman.
Mm-hmm. That's the
role
leader.
Model. So
yep.
And things like
It's
that.
gonna go straight to his head.
Yeah. Definitely didn't need that, but you put on, and he's got a teammate that goes other places, and they put on 15 pounds of him, and they're running 40s every day, and he just smokes them out of the water.
Yep.
He's up 15 pounds. We got his 60 from a 6'9" all the way down to a 6'4" as a junior, which is just hauling ass. I mean, I think Billy Hamilton ran a 6'4".
Yeah.
At a 60, and just. And
you have elite level speed.
Yeah, it's
as a kid.
So it's definitely you get certain athletes can have certain weight goals and things like that, but a little bit less worried about what the scale says and just how's your body feel and things like that for your sport. So
my favorite is when he comes in. He already knows that we're gonna rag on his shirt. But it's like he's outgrown them all faster than mom and dad can buy him.
For 15 pounds, boy, you go have your girlfriend take you to the store, get you a little exercise.
Sweet Lord.
Yep.
Not bad today, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad. I definitely think for next week's topic, I might even combine two of these. I think what we're going to look into next time is going to be some different program methods, or what type of programming you guys are most keen to, what you guys kind of maybe liked when you first started working as strength conditioning coaches, but then maybe what now you would never go back to, like some different things that you guys kind of like, what you dislike with different training programs, maybe for yourselves and maybe for the athletes. But another thing I wanted to maybe combine into that would just be some different misconceptions in training, and how maybe those can lead to losses of progression as opposed to setting you up for success. But yeah, not bad today. So what we'll kind of finish off here with, guys, is just wanted to say thanks for listening, and if you guys, again, if you have any topics you guys want us to kind of cover, please again leave us a comment below or message us on Instagram, or shoot us a text. Like the video, please subscribe to the page and add us to your notifications. Thanks, guys. Take care.